I tell the students, as long as you live, never let people put their labels on you. That's the beginning of the end for you. Calling you an urban student, this kind of learner, a special this. Those are labels. You need to identify yourself as a child of the Most High. That's it. You are a student, not a student that needs to be put in a special category.
The Council of Urban Boards of Education gathered in Phoenix, Arizona for CUBE's 48th annual conference. Attendees heard from knowledgeable speakers who provided insight on the many issues school boards face in our cities and communities. Here were some of the highlights from this year's conference.
You need to give students what they need. And we need to be rethinking about our plans and our resources that way. And also knowing that what they need might not be what we don't have the allocation for, so how can we use what we have to get them what they need?
So before I jump into what happened in Cleveland, I just want to make sure everyone understands what student-based budgeting is and give a high level of what that means. So there's really 4 big things that are worth knowing about SBB. One, at the heart of it, it's just a set of rules or a formula that allocates dollars to schools. And notice I said, the second thing is notice I said dollars. We're not allocating staff or instructional materials, we're allocating dollars and a budget to a school. The third thing is that those dollars are sent to schools based on student enrollment and student need. So as Megan mentioned, certain kids with certain characteristics would receive more dollars to match the needs that they have. And then the last big difference between student-based budgeting and a traditional funding system is that when the budget goes to schools, principals actually have control over what happens with those budgets. So principals are deciding how many staff they want in their classrooms, how they want to set up their schools. So that's big picture student-based budgeting.
Having worked almost 8 years at the Chicago Public Schools, and I've worked 2 years with the Los Angeles Unified School District, and now at Seattle Public Schools, I've seen at least 3 different districts' board policies. I've also participated on multiple peer reviews across the country from major urban school districts, so I've gotten a good feel for what are good board policies regarding budget. But in terms of the exercise, we thought each table could go around and talk about the policies that you have within your district that might be similar to Seattle's, and things that what you like about those policies or the related policies, and maybe some of the policies that you don't have that you would like to at least share with us, or things that you find out might be unique to your particular district.
If it wasn't for the discussion of my amazing group. So I just want to thank our thinkers and our educators sitting at my group for us coming up. What was most important for some of our best common budget policy approaches, number 1, we looked at teacher funding, 2, performance pay, 3, technology, 4, AVID, and 5, maintenance in our facilities. And that is about as far as we got because the conversation got really good discussing various things that's going on in our schools.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good luck! Good luck, everyone! Muhammad Ali, right? When he had thing. Photo finish. You want me to go back? I'm really sweating. Hey. I can't see it.
Who do we punish the most? The kids with the greatest needs. How do we punish them? By denying them school time. You talk about a school to prison pipeline, how does that pipeline get created? When you push kids out of school who are now unsupervised on the streets. Wow. You know what the goal of discipline should be? To change behavior. Right? To change behavior. Why would we think sending kids home to watch TV and play video games would change their behavior?
When you become a priority school, whatever that is called in your district, You cannot get removed from that status until you receive some type of notification from the state. Every state is different, so it depends upon who that point person is. But there is a point person at the state level who decides if you stay in or if you go out. For Michigan, it is the state reform officer. Unless you fall under certain guidelines where you could be under an emergency manager, or like you said, you could be under the governor-appointed system, and all of those rules and regulations do not apply. And that's why it's so important, which is why I'm using language. If you don't know this language, guess what happens? You can't fight your fight. Because I'm all for, we all have to fight the fight for education wherever we sit. And so knowing the language is so important. And so for me today, that was important to make sure that you understand some of this language, because if you don't know it, there are decisions and things happening above you that you have no clue. And when you hear the language, it doesn't mean anything to you, and you go, what is that? Whereas today, you're gonna walk out of here knowing, here's some things I need to ask when I get back to my district. And here's some things I may need some of my state people to come and present to my district about, so that people are aware of it. Because remember, you are the body for your community. You may have to have some town hall meetings to have somebody from the state come in and talk about what does this look like, okay? Because of these things that are happening. Thank you very much.
12 million students attend schools that are urban schools. That population of 12 million students is wonderfully diverse. That's a positive. Students who attend large urban school districts attend schools that are more diverse than any other schools in our nation. 41.1% are Hispanic, 26.5% are African American, 7.6% are Asian, and 20% are Caucasian. 40% of all students classified in urban schools are classified as ELL. This is how America was built. Some people want you to think that this is a negative thing about the state of urban schools, but this is how America was founded. Our diversity is our advantage.
So I don't know how many of you guys actually have a student council president that actually sits at the board meeting, but it really builds a great relationship in terms of the board as well as the students.
We'll go one more, and then we'll go to question two.
The most important thing I do is I go into schools in New York City. They have given me access. And I teach students who they are and the importance of their legacy. Since I went through school all of my life, I had no idea that I was the great-great-great-granddaughter of a slave who fought in the Civil War. I found this out when I was in my late 30s. And I always tell students how I wish, when they were teaching me about the Civil War in social studies class, while I'm looking at the ceiling and counting the cracks, if I could have raised my hand and said one of my grandfathers was there, what a different student I would have been. So you may ask, well, what is your motivation, Cheryl, to do all of this? My motivation is that in New York City, I sit on television every night and I report about the mass murder of young black men. They don't call it mass murder, but that's what it is. Every night I'm reporting on teenage black men killing one another, children who should be in school. I am reporting on a school-to-prison pipeline that is so thick with precious children. You pick a crime, I've reported it. And it's breaking my heart. So I figured if my grandfather was so brave to get up from a slave plantation 150 years ago and fight for not only his freedom, but for the freedom of this entire country, then doggone it, I can get off that anchor set and go into the schools and remind the children, you are special indeed. You are extraordinary. So I'm going to lay it out for you how I do all of this.
Okay, I got it. Thank you. We also hear when we have this conversation often, the other part of that conversation is often, well, listen, every kid is not going to go to college. You know, every child just isn't going to go to college. And so, you know, we shouldn't be pushing them into these advanced placement courses when that's not their path to take. So that's an interesting dynamic. It makes me wonder when we're talking about preparation and we say, I mean, I think part of this panel discussion is that we're preparing students for school and life. And so how does that play into that challenge perspective when we're talking about putting them in places that they may not necessarily, to some, be prepared for?
So this is kind of an issue that's a little dear to my heart and what I believe in, because I think we can all have conversations with family members specifically when they were in high school and they showed an interest in college and they were told, well, you know, that's really not what you should think about. Why don't you think about this track, right? And it brings back memories and very fresh wounds related to tracking, which when we talk about sorting students, that's absolutely what we're beginning to talk about. And so to the conversation about, and specifically our college and career ready standards, also known as Common Core outside of Arizona. College and career ready standards, it's not for us to determine who goes to college and who doesn't, but it absolutely is up to us to prepare students so they can make that choice. And that's where that comes in. Thank you.
So most school systems across the country operate with about 8 to 9 different systems. They have the student information system. They may have a data dashboard. The employees might go to one system to check pay stubs and figure out how many leave days they have left. The teachers might go to another system for their grade book. But how can you operate as a system with 8 different systems in which you operate? So we said, let's scratch all that. Let's come up with one system that regardless of who you are, whether you're a student, a parent, an administrator, you have access to this one system, and you can get every single thing that you need to do business with us. So as a parent, why shouldn't you be able to see the curriculum that your child is doing? And if you're a 3rd grade parent, why shouldn't you be able to see the 2nd grade and the 4th grade curricula too? And you should be able to see the resources. So you can then dovetail at home what we're trying to do at school. So we launched BCPS 1 last year, and as we go into this school year, we were so successful with the launch in 10 schools. BCPS 1 was in every single school, but we were so successful with our 10 Lighthouse schools that this year, this is what we're doing.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eric Gordon, and I'm so very proud to be the superintendent of the Cleveland Metropolitan School District. I just wanted to close by personally thanking our Board of Education, the 3 members here and the 6 members at home. It is board leadership that has allowed us to have the successes you're hearing about today. So on behalf of our board, want to congratulate the other 2 nominee winners that we'll be celebrating today. Thank you very much on behalf of Cleveland, and congratulations to our colleagues. Thank you.
Because we believe strongly in what our founding fathers believed. We believe strongly in what the speakers at this conference believe. We believe that the fight for public education, let it start just as the revolution started in Concord. We'll be fine. We're ready for it to start in Fort Wayne, Indiana. But we're doing it for ourselves, and we're doing it for you, and we ask each and every board to join with us in this fight to save public education from those who would destroy it with a diversion of funds and talent. Thank you very much.
So why do we do it? Everybody here knows why we do it. We do it for our children, and we're committed to one special thing about our children. Every child, every single child who walks through our doors is going to get a comprehensive education to prepare them to be college and career ready. But it also prepares our community when disaster happens. When our district office fire happened a year after Dr. Joel got there, It wasn't about the fire. It was, okay, Dr. Joel, we trust you, we hired you. We got together, we passed an emergency powers resolution as a board and said, go get what you need. We're not going to babysit this. It's about purple penguins, and you're all going, what the devil's a purple penguin? A year ago, on the radio, in the blogs, a person who decided to run for the board decided to complain about children who didn't act and look like everyone else. And it prepared us for those discussions of our critics who don't want us to educate children who are LGBT, transgender, they don't want them in the buildings. And we stood strong, and our community, because of the transparency, because of us being there, backed us up in this fight. And they picked up the banner and said, every student counts. We had board meetings sometimes with 200 people standing to complain. I watched one from a meeting out of town, and I was like, there's 3 hours, and the board chair's texting me back going, and they're still coming. And they're still coming. But if you, every person in this room, is preparing us for a fight that is coming to Nebraska. You see, we don't have charter schools. They're illegal in our state. And I'm going to fight like hell to make sure they never get there. Each and every one of you have given us a way to fight that battle, and it was because Americans for Prosperity came in and said, you need to cut your budget, and our community came back and fought. So we're in this fight together. Not only are we going to keep charters from into our state, we're here to help you to get them out of yours. Thank you so much for honoring Lincoln, Nebraska, because again, we're all in this together.
I'd like to leave you with a few words from Mother Teresa that I think are fitting. People are often unreasonable, irrational, and self-centered. Forgive them anyway. If you are kind, people may accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Be kind anyway. If you are successful, you will win some unfaithful friends and some genuine enemies. Succeed anyway. If you are honest and sincere, people may deceive you. Be honest and sincere anyway. When you spend years creating, others could destroy overnight. Create anyway. If you find serenity and happiness, some may be jealous. Be happy anyway. The good you do today will often be forgotten. Do good anyway. Give the best you have. It will never be enough, but give your best anyway. In closing, I hope that I have left you with the realization as to why it is necessary to provide a world-class education for our children. Thank you so much. I appreciate being here.